Shalom everyone, today we're studying Parashat VaYetse, which you can find it in the book of Genesis, chapter 28, verse 10. ויצא יעקב מבאר שבע וילך חרנה. And Jacob got out of Beersheba and he went towards Haran. Okay, there are many questions we can ask about that. First of all, why does Yaakov need to get out of Beersheba in order to go to Haran? Okay, many commentators are asking the question. It could have been said very simply, like many commentators are saying that, and Jacob went Haran, he left to Haran. Why do you need to get out of Beersheba in order to go to Haran? And then, in order to understand that, we have to understand the background, Parashat Toldot. Parashat Toldot, we learn about the birth of Jacob and Esau, the two brothers, two twins, two enemies, two foes. There's an eternal war between the two, and already in the beginning, we learn about Jacob buying the birthright from Esau for a bowl of lentils, okay, which is a very famous expression. People buy a bowl of lentils and they sell for that, the most important thing in their lives. And this is a very important thing because the fight between Jacob and Esau, it is not a story of a dysfunctional family that lived some 35 centuries ago. We are talking about something much deeper than that. We're talking about that every person that is named in the book of Genesis, every person is a symbol for one aspect of the human psyche, the human nature. And here, when we talk about Jacob and Esau, we spoke about, on one hand, Jacob is the soul, the human soul, that is always tam, complete, and is always trying to be in a complete, nice place. Okay? And that's where the soul is going to. However, here we have to remember, when we have a soul like this, and the soul originates from a higher place, from an endless dimension of love and completion and so on, so how can we become the creators of our destiny, the creators of beauty and light and sweetness, if we don't have any challenge to overcome? And therefore we have Esau, which is the dark side of the human body, because when a soul is not in a body, there are no challenges. Everything is real. You live in the real world. You know what's wrong and what's right. It's like there's no free will in a place like this. And the sages are saying, Ein tikun ela beguf. Rabbi Isaac Luria is teaching us you cannot have any correction, which means you cannot create any real creation unless you are in a physical body that gives you huge challenges and confusion and blindness and so on and so forth. So therefore, the fight between Jacob and Esau is the ongoing duel between the body and the soul. Okay, so when it says in Genesis that the nature of a human heart is evil since birth, we're talking about the heart of the body. It doesn't say the nature of a human soul is evil from birth, which means we come into a physical body in order to be challenged by blindness, by all kinds of horrible emotions that are basically a direct result of blindness, lack, fear, hunger, the fear that if I'm hungry, I'll never be able to eat anymore unless I do something crazy like killing somebody or stealing or cheating. All of that is part of our great opportunity in this realm, which is becoming the light, the creator of light, the creator of an elevated reality out of the challenges of the miserable reality that our body shows us through our eyes and of course through the vision of our emotions that creates so much noise that that noise is what gives us the blunder, the lack of vision, in which that leads us into horrible movies of fear and anxiety, and that's what drives us crazy, and that's how we have an opportunity to become creators of a great life when we overcome that horrible movie that is given to us by the body. So the story of last week's parasha is again as a result of the fight between Jacob and Esau, the two brothers, and because of Esau's loss of his birthright, his blessing, he hates Jacob, he wants to kill him. Jacob needs to run away for his life. So here Jacob is leaving that horrible reality in which you live in a household in which your father does not get it that your brother wants to kill you. Your mother is somehow trying to protect you, but she can't. She can't really protect you from this murderer, your brother. This is like a soap opera, a telenovela of a dysfunctional family. So Jacob has to run for his life, and he's being sent to Haran, to Rivka's brother Lavan. And that's what they say, from the frying pan into the fire. Because Lavan is not much better than Esau. So we have that terrible situation, and now the question is how Jacob survives that kind of impossible reality between his brother wants to kill him and his uncle that does everything that is possible to destroy him also, although he exploits him, although he cheats him, still he gives him Leah instead of Rachel. And it's like, read the parasha, read the story. The story is full of torture and unbelievable troubles that Jacob is going through. And everybody's asking, and from now on, and the rest of the parashot of the book of Bereshit, and also from the time of Abraham, we have the same story. How come these righteous people, who basically bring the message, the mission of monotheism, of one loving God, that is basically the source of all souls of humanity, and that's where all humanity is, all the souls of humanity are going to reach sooner or later, because that's our destiny. This is the messianic vision, that finally everything will be right, everyone will be righteous, everyone will be united together with God. Okay, how would that vision come through with such animosity, hatred, hate, envy? All the diseases of humanity are described in this book, the book of Genesis, in the stories of those members of this family, Abraham's family. So here comes, in order to understand the story is like this. Jacob is going to Haran, and then it says on verse 11, Vayifga b'makom. He hits a place, which means somehow to show that unintentionally he reaches that place, and it became night suddenly, all of a sudden. So he took from the stones of the place to put under his head, and he lies down in that place. Since when do we hear in the Torah a description of somebody's sleeping place. You know, it was linen, it was silk, it was, well, what was it about? Okay? Why does it, we have to hear the story about the stones of this place? So he lies down at that place and he has a dream. One of the most famous dreams in the history of humanity, verse 12, chapter 28. And in his dream he sees a ladder standing on the earth, and the head of the ladder reaches the heavens. And the angels of God coming up and down in that ladder. And on top of the ladder, there's God Almighty standing over it, and he says, I'm God, the Lord, Youdkevitch, you know, the name of God that is not to be pronounced. Elohei Avraham Avicha, the God of your father Abraham, the father of your father Isaac. The land that you are lying upon, I'm going to give to you and your offsprings. Okay, so the story is longer than that, but let's get to the point. What is the message in this parasha? And we have, in order to understand the message, we know that the perception of reality has 4 layers known in Jewish teaching as Pardes. Pardes is the initials of Pshat, Remez, Drash, and Sod, which are the 4 layers of understanding everything, not just in the Torah, but especially training us to understand everything in our own life. So the simple story is Jacob is leaving his home. He's running away from his brother, wants to kill him, and he goes to Haran. But the way it's written, it means there's something over there, because the language, the words are not very grammatically proper. VaYetse Yaakov מבאר שבע וילך חרנה, we have 2 verbs over here. Okay? Why do we need 2 verbs? In one sentence, you need 1 verb to make it, you can make it very clear. And Jacob left to Haran, or went to Haran. So the legend is saying like this, that Jacob basically, where does it say? There's so many commentaries about it. I'm not so sure which one is going to be the So first of all, Rashi says, it's not my invention, that was supposed to say he went to Haran. Why do we have to mention the getting out of Beersheba? Now, okay. So Rashi's explanation, Rashi, whoever doesn't remember, Rashi is the best-selling commentary to the Torah. Since the 11th century, almost every commentary of the Torah must contain Rashi. Rashi was French, he lived in France, and he made this commentary, which is still 1,000 years later, almost still the most popular one. And Rashi is not making commentary on his own. He is bringing all kind of midrashim, either stories or commentaries that were known before his time. He's just bringing them in a special way of gathering it that makes it really special to give us, you know, too much information, too many trees, can't see the forest. So Rashi mentions few things. And one of them, שקפצה לו הארץ. What Rashi is saying is bringing all kinds of legends that say few things. One of them, Why does it say that he had to get out of Beersheba? Beersheba means in Hebrew the well of seven, okay, or the seventh well. If you read the stories, the previous parashot, you understand what does it mean. Still, there's another meaning to the name Beersheba, Be'er, the well. The well is a spring, it's a source of wisdom. However, the number 7 symbolizes our own world. Why? A human being lives in a 7 directions reality of thinking. You can move your mind to the right or to the left, to the front or to the back, up or down. This is 6, and there is the me that all the other directions revolve. So when we're talking about a reality, we spoke about it before, a reality of this physical world, physical senses, we use the number 7. So what Jacob is doing, he's doing kfitzat haderech. I don't know how many of you read the book, the series Dune by Frank Herbert, or saw the movie, but there is this concept of kfitzat haderech is mentioned over there, exactly the same word. Maybe they don't know how to pronounce it right, so they kevizat hadarech, whatever, but this is a Hebrew word which means quantum leap. Jacob made a quantum leap. He was a great sage. He had the ability to get out from Beersheba with the power of his mind and to make a quantum leap, transferring himself to Haran, just like this. However, something went wrong with his coordination, and he finds himself in the place, and suddenly became dark, like God. Why? Because God said, you're not going to Haran before you visit my place. So whenever you hear the word the place, okay, the place, we see it many times, even before. The place is always what we call today the Temple Mount, the foundation stone, the place that Abraham bound Isaac, the same place that now Jacob is sleeping, and he puts his head over the stones of this place, that stone, the foundation stone, okay, and he lies down in that place. And then the legend says that when God says to Jacob, when the land that you are lying upon, I'm giving to you and all your offsprings, you know, how big is the land that you're lying upon? Not too big, that's the size of a grave. Okay? No, it was the whole land of Israel, the promised land, the full size of the promised land, and God folded the whole country under Jacob, which is like, why do you have to do that? Why do you have to do that? You know, just say the land I promised your father. Again, we have something that the same way that quantum leap, which means you leave Beersheba and the next thing you are in Haran, but you haven't been in any point in between. Why today it's called quantum leap? Because till a century ago, the idea sounded like magic only. 100 years ago, when we are coming to learn about the beginning of quantum physics, and there quantum physics is giving that idea that yes, from moving from A to B, you need to be in every point between A to B. So movement is linear, has to be. And quantum physics describes a universe in which you can move from A to B without being in any place, any point in between. And that's why it's called quantum leap, which means quantum leap, I won't go into it too much, that belongs to the course of Kabbalah and science, but quantum leap means that whatever you can do things in this universe that are physically right but logically impossible. How could that happen? Which means logic is very not efficient in understanding reality. So whatever we see as logical, true, or possible, it's not always right. You know, matter of fact, it's usually not right. Each one of us has moments in which we are totally certain about certain way things are going, what's right and what's wrong, where things are coming from and where they're going to. And then we have this like shuddering of consciousness and realizing that what was I thinking to myself? If you don't go through this kind of crisis, you don't really live. Because human mind is about making a decision, understanding reality, and then realizing that was really a false attitude, a false perception. If you don't learn, and learning is about realizing that what you were thinking about stuff was not the real thing. So, I'll explain why it's crucially important for us. So, we have over here that story of Jacob, and he's doing a quantum leap. He's jumping from Beersheba to Haran, but God does not allow him to do that. He mixes up his coordinates, and he hits the place, and he's like, where am I? And it becomes dark. He has no idea where he is. He goes to sleep. Again, something that is totally magical, impossible. The sun sets in the middle of the day. The middle of the day becomes dark. So he goes to sleep and he sees the famous dream, the ladder. What is the symbol of this ladder? But what's really, and then again the story about folding the earth, which means what is there and what is there is also here. Which means 2 points in space can be connected to each other. Again, if you learn about quantum mechanics and about entangled particles, you realize that information and energy and matter can leap from one point in the universe to another point without being in the space between. Our logic cannot accept that, although scientifically it's already proven right. So what's in it for us? How would we use that information in order to become better people? That's the question we always have to ask. Otherwise, we'll never get what the Torah is trying to teach us. So God is giving Jacob a promise. He's expanding the promise he gave to Abraham and to Isaac. And he wakes up. You know, some of the verses in this parasha are eternal. And that's Genesis chapter 28, verse 17. Verse 16. ויקץ יעקב משנתו, Jacob wakes up. ויאמר אכן יש אדוני במקום הזה. It says, indeed, there is God in this place. ואנוכי לא ידעתי, I have not realized that. Verse 17, וירא, and he was in awe. And he says, ויאמר מה נורא המקום הזה. How awesome is this place. אין זה כי אם בית אלוהים, this must be the house of God, וזה שער השמיים. And this is the gate of heavens. Which means he realizes that this is the stone, that the foundation stone, which means the whole universe, the physical universe, is founded upon this stone. In Hebrew, it's called Even Hashtiyah. The word Shtiyah has double meanings. One, foundation. The other meaning is drinking. This is the stone, not just the world is founded upon, established upon, but the world drinks its life from that stone. What does it mean? So we know that this special place, there's no other place like this. On earth, this is the place that later on, King David bought this place from the king of the Jebusites. King Solomon built there the first temple. Then the second temple was built over there. We are talking about the place in which the upper spiritual world touches, kisses the physical world. What does it mean? If the physical world does not touch, does not connect to the spiritual world beyond our logic and our senses, the physical world has no life. And so that's why it's called the drinking stone and the foundation stone. In Hebrew, it's one word, shtia, even hashtia. The whole world takes its life from that connection. It's the same way a soul and a body. If they are not really connected, the body will die. The soul will live forever, but the body will die. Okay, so what's in it for us? What does that mean? So we have to understand, of course, the Zohar will help us. And the Zohar, in the beginning of Parashat VaYetse, commentary of the Zohar, verse 1 in the Sulam commentary, ויצא יעקב מבאר שבע וילך חרן, רבי חייא פתח ואמר, וזרח השמש, ובא השמש, ומקומו שואף זורח הוא שם. So Rabbi Chia is giving us a quote from it doesn't say over here, but we can always look for it on the internet. Okay, this is from the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 1, verse 5. And it says, and the sun rose and the sun set, and the sun, vel mekomo shoef zoreach sham. And the sun always has the tendency to go to its place. But what does that mean? And why Rabbi Chia is bringing that sentence from the book of Ecclesiastes? Haika ukmoa, there are many commentaries to this verse. Aval vezarach hashemesh, and the sun rose. Yaakov, this is Jacob. Kadhava bi Beersheva, when he was in Beersheva, and he shines. Uva hashemesh, and the sun sets when he went to Haran. דכתיב, וילן שם כי בא השמש ולמקומו שואף זורח. Okay. And then the Zohar is explaining what is the code over here. And the Zohar says when the sun shines towards in the east, but it shines and the direction is toward the south. Why the south? Because the south is the meaning of the south, the code word for south is the right column. Right column means the power of chesed, giving, grace, caring, kindness and love. This is chesed. So when the sun shines, it shines towards the south. And after it goes to the south, all the way, making its way up the sky but towards the south, then the sun is starting to set towards the north. The direction is northward. And the north is and Ba'ashemesh, sunset. Sunrise, sunset. So it's right column, left column. Okay? However, these two movements to the, we have like two vectors. To the south, to the west, the three, and to the north. But also they're connecting between the east, where the sun shines, to the west. So altogether we have four vectors, four directions that the sun plays in between. And this is the human destiny. which means we have the ability to move with the right foot. Everybody always says you always start with the right foot. And I said it many, many times. Why starting with the right foot? So if I got into my business the first time and I made a mistake, I was not aware, and I stepped in with the left foot, is it a bad omen? Of course not. When it says start with the right foot, the right side, which is the south, okay, you know, when the sun is shining, you're facing the east, you see the sunrise, but then the sun starts to move to the south. That's starting with the right foot. What does it mean? You establish a business. The first thing that you need, the first step that you need in order to have a thriving, successful, great business, you have to ask yourself, what is the value that I want to share, to give to my customers? Otherwise, why should they become my customers? So that means starting with the right foot, which means starting with chesed. Abraham, always being there at service. And the same thing, you meet a person that will become maybe a very good friend, your spouse, your community, you need to start with the right foot. How can I be of service? Because when you approach somebody and they feel that you came to take from them, somebody comes at you and you realize they're in huge passion of taking away something that belongs to you. Your time, your money. What happens? Automatically, you shut down. Correct? So, if you want to be connected to somebody, you have to start with the right foot. You have to come with how and what can I offer to be at service. Be the light. Everybody wants light. So, you be the light. This is chesed, this is the right foot, and this is south. Abraham. However, you need also to know how to take. Because you open a business and you're just giving a service, if you don't know how to take money in just exchange to your service, then you won't be able to continue giving any service. So you need to think about, how do I get value so I can continue run my business? That is, after the right foot, you use the left foot. And that means the sun goes to, after the sun rises, it goes all the way to the south. And when it reaches the top of the sky, the zenith, the sun starts to take another direction to the north, northwards. And north means left foot. This is the left side. So every human being, in order to be successful, you have an ongoing duel between the right and the left, the south and the north, Abraham and Isaac. Okay? And for most people, this is a very tiring duel, a very uncomfortable, and it's almost impossible to resolve. Either you have guilt that you're not giving enough service, or you feel like a thief that you're taking too much for that service, or you feel a problem that you're not taking enough for your service, or you're giving too much and people don't appreciate it. You know, most of our discomfort in relationships and in career is about the fight between the right and the left, the south and the north, the giving and the receiving. So whenever we are stuck into a conflict, it's usually a conflict between, do I give enough? Do I take enough? Did I give too much? Am I taking too much? Am I taking too little? And for most people, it's an ongoing pain, either consciously and many, many times subconsciously. It's a cause of discomfort, and that usually brings to a place of total exhaustion that people simply are, when we're talking about business or relationship, you're tired. You're so tired because you between, do I get enough? Do I give enough? Am I being appreciated enough? This is a never-ending story. How do we human beings come to a place of tranquility, peace, while still having a career, still having relationships, and everybody in relationship, they want to give, they want to take. Usually we meet more takers than givers, but still, when people give to us, and they think they give, many times they think they give to us, meanwhile we feel they take away from us. Our time, our intention, they're trying to give us service, and meanwhile we realize that we're being harassed. I'm just talking about what's going with every human being. That's what life is about. And here comes the story. When we're talking about the right, we said this is Abraham, the left, this is Isaac. Giving chesed, Abraham, south. Receiving judgment, Gevurah, Yitzchak, north, and so on. How do you make peace between the south and the north? Between the giving and the taking? Between the love of others and existence and survival? And the Zohar is saying only one thing, Jacob. Jacob is the central column. Look, so many times we are finding ourselves in a conflict in which we're saying he wants that much, or that's what he wants. I want that much, or that's what I want. And bridging between Jacob and Esau, between the body and the soul, between just two human beings, so many times it looks like totally impossible, like there's no solution whatsoever. And what's the result for a normal human being? It is like there's going to be a fight, there's going to be conflict. We can't resolve the conflict. Well, yes, we can negotiate it. History shows that many times the negotiations reach to even a worse place, because through the negotiations you realize how deep is the gap that you cannot bridge it. Because what one side wants is the demise of the other side, which means peace for one side means the end of the other side. Okay? How can you bridge that? Okay? I want whatever you've got. So where am I going to be? I don't care. So how can you resolve that? It happens too many times. When we try to resolve a conflict with our mind, there's a very famous saying, I think it's related to Einstein: the logic that brought you into that conflict cannot get you out of it. So how do we resolve this conflict? I'll give you an example. It's a very old example that I didn't give it for a long time. If you take your finger, you put it in front of you, your finger, do it. And now look at your finger with the right eye, and then close the right eye and look only with the left eye. Okay? Switch your eyes, and what you're going to see that each eye sees another picture. Now, look at the finger with both eyes. In a normal human being that has no eye problem or brain problem, you see one picture, 3D, of a finger. You don't experience a fight between the right eye and the left eye, who's right. No, you get a 3D, much more detailed picture that gives you more dimensions that one eye could not give you. How come we don't have that problem only when we have an eye damage or brain damage or the nervous damage? And the answer is like this. When we speak about Abraham, we speak about chesed, as we said before, the giving and the love. When you speak about Isaac, it's the judgment, the vigor, and also discipline and boundaries. However, that's called gevura. Now, these two forces cannot live side by side. They will always fight with each other in every human mind. The only way you can really resolve the issue is when you use the consciousness that is called, represented by Jacob, the central column. The central column is the same idea of the 3D picture, that the picture that the right eye and the left eye, two pictures, come together instead of fighting against each other. Who is right? You get a much higher picture, more dimensions, more details, better ability of seeing the width and the length of things. There's a 3D picture, which means hunters must see that 3D picture, because without it you cannot aim to the goal, because you have no proper evaluation of width and length and depth. So you need that ability of two eyes to be able to evaluate how far you have to go. Okay? So, same thing in our reality. If we want really to understand our goal, where we have to go, and what we have to do, and how do we solve any question, problem, conflict, we need to have a higher consciousness, and that is called getting out of the box. When you take the right column and you take the left column and you synthesize them into something that is not right and it's not left. It's something that is the right and the left and something more than that. It's a quantum leap. That's why all of these stories that Rashi is bringing about the impossible becoming reality. When does the impossible becomes reality? Only when we realize what we call the power of overcoming. When we overcome the fear, when we overcome our reactions, when we overcome our limitation, we overcome our fear of not knowing the solution, not knowing what to do. At the same time, we emphasize that we are here as giving creatures and as creatures of faith. When we put together, yes, I need to be there for others, which means love, unconditional love, giving and caring on one hand. On the other hand, I can't just stop existing. I cannot just, say, take whatever I've got. Who cares about me? God created me, so I will be me. I'm not supposed to be somebody else. I'm not supposed to give away who I am, because if I'm not myself, I cannot give to the world what I came to give to the world, which means if I really put these two things together, my duty to give, to share, to be loving, to be of help, and at the same time my duty to be who I am, and realizing there's enough bliss in the universe for me and for everybody else, so there must be a solution that everyone gets what they need, not what they think they want, but what they really need. That state of mind is called the quantum leap. It's a leap into a reality in which all the previous imagination, thinking, perception are completely coming into total demise. And a new picture of a higher dimensions appears, and suddenly I realize that what was I thinking to myself? All the logical options that I was thinking about, they were horrible. They will either hurt me, the others, both of us. They were horrible. How could I be there? Only when I can really see the bigger picture, which means I have to inject total faith, total connection, that the story is not just by mistake. That story came for a reason. So when we know that there is a solution, basically that's the basics of the person of faith. You go through what you go through. You have challenges that you have to face, and you know that everything is for the good. Where is the good? I don't know, but I know it's there. The moment I have this assumption that basically the one who runs the show is the creator, which means all these conflicts that I'm seeing in front of me, all of them are coming over here just to challenge me, so I make that quantum leap. Parashat VaYetse is always being read in the month of Kislev, the month of miracles. What's a miracle? So it's written in Psalms, Lanus velitnosis, to flee up and above. To flee what? The box. What's the box? The dimensions of logic, the dimensions of what we think, what we believe is reality. This is not reality. That's our belief system. And our belief system is meant to be destroyed annually, monthly, weekly, daily, hourly. Depends what the pace that we are choosing to take. Whatever I perceive, the moment it looks a dead end, like a dead end, it looks like, okay, so I have to give up my happiness so somebody else will be happy. You took the wrong direction. There's no way. There's not enough light for both of you. Okay? If the solution looks like a win-lose or lose-lose, this is not the solution. Because there's no way the Creator created the universe for people to suffer, to be miserable, to be losers, to be just victims. This is not the purpose of reality. So the whole story of the fights of Jacob, that every fight is more depressing than the others for most people. People go with traumas forever with stories like this. You have a brother who wants to kill you. Your uncle is even worse than that. He's a cheat and a liar. You marry your beloved woman that you dream about her all your life. Your soulmate, your true soulmate, you met her finally. You work for her 7 years in the cold, in the heat, and so on. And you wake up in the morning, you realize that's a sister. Wow, with traumas like this, most people they need to be on high dose of who knows what. You can't deal with life like this. And Jacob is just getting. Who would think that you need to be married to Leah also? Without Leah, we're missing 6 of the 12 tribes. So, all of this in this parasha is there must be a happy ending. Okay? Hollywood was built by people who ran away from the pogroms in Russia. There were Jews who ran away to New York. In New York, they couldn't make a living either, so they ran away to Hollywood to build their own dream. And in every movie, they put that happy ending. Why? Because this is the way they were brought up. There is a happy ending. If there's no happy ending, it's like something is wrong in the picture. Because there's one who's running the show, and that's a creator, and he created each one of us to be happy. However, in order to be happy, you need to have this quantum leap. You're confused, you're upset, you're angry, you're afraid. Stop that reaction. Think about, how do I build my right column? How do I become a person of grace and love? And then at the same time, how do I not give up of my own need to be happy? How I'm going to be happy? I have no idea, but I don't give it up. I'm not a victim. I'm not suffering forever. I know something great is going to happen. And I know also there's enough for everyone. And when you come up with that idea and you insist, finally, you have this quantum leap. And a new reality reveals itself in front of you. And you realize that yes, you can be one moment here, in another moment you made a quantum leap and wow, where am I? In a magical place. I see the ladder, I see the angels. We're not talking about Jacob, we're talking about each one of us. There's always a solution. But if you do not give up your values of being a person of love and kindness and honesty and integrity on one hand, but on the other hand, you don't give up on your own well-being and happiness, and you insist that although it looks like it doesn't go together, it goes together. And if you do that and you fight for that, the quantum leap will appear. Something will happen and you find yourself in a new reality in which what was impossible becomes possible, what was illogical becomes reality. And that's a quantum leap that the central column, Jacob consciousness, is about. So look at reality, how scary it is, how confusing it is. If you insist to go on the way of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, you will find yourself outside the box in a place that you couldn't even imagine. That's a quantum leap we are talking about. But we didn't finish the story. So why do we need the foundation stone in that story? Why it can't be somewhere else? And there's another thing to complete the story. Okay, because the time is short, I'll just explain, what did we say? We said that the foundation stone or the drinking stone, Even HaShtiyah, is the connection between the spiritual world and the physical world. The moment we reach that central column, we also connect, we also mend together the upper world, the world of what is called in Hebrew Olam HaEmet, the true world, with Olam HaSheker, the world of lies, the physical world. And that makes, when we merge the two worlds together, the spiritual, metaphysical, the world of light and spirits and truth, when we create that aspect of central column, we can bring the holiness down. We can bring the impossible down. We can sanctify the gray, boring, upsetting, or nerving physical reality. And then we sanctify the physical body, the physical life, the physical business. We take the most mundane, meaningless aspects of life and we sanctify them. What does it mean we sanctify them? The moment we see that everything has a purpose and everything is connected to the big picture, it's not the same story anymore. And that's what is Jacob saying? Ma nora makom hazeh. How awesome is this place? Awesome. Why is it important? When we say the prayer, the silent prayer, 3 times a day, how does it start? Blessed are you, Lord, the Lord of our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Okay? The Lord, Hagadol, Hagibor, Vanora. The great, which is Chesed, Gadol, Chesed, Abraham, Hagibor, Gvura, Isaac, Noah, awesome, Jacob. Awe, the Zohar is teaching us, when we reach the central column, when you put together the right and the left, the me and the them, the inside and the outside, the south and the north, all the dichotomies, all the contradictions, and you see that everything merges into one beautiful picture, then it becomes awe. Awe can be achieved only in a place of completion. That is Jerusalem. This Ir Yereh Shalem. Awe of completion. Yerushalayim. This is what Abraham calls the place after the binding of Isaac. So when it says awe, we mean central column. When we are being pulled to the right, chesed, love, love, just make love, everything is just love, chesed, just give, whatever, you don't realize that without boundaries, you can really mess up big time. And if you're just busy with the boundaries and discipline, you just suffocate reality. But when you put the love, chesed, with the gvura, and you create the third force, central column, tiferet, that's awesome. It's a place that you're facing total completion. The place that you finally, your logic gives up in a good sense of, I couldn't believe that things could be so complete, awesome. This is the magic. And that's why the place of completion, this is Jerusalem. This is the place you come to feel the awe that things can be. On the one hand, physical, on the other hand, spiritual, and there's no contradiction. It's all complete. When you understand that, you understand the whole parasha, all the fights, all of these conflicts that Jacob is experiencing, it's just to give him and us. That's what life is about. How do you get out of Beersheba? How do you just jump out of the box to a place that was not there? You haven't been there before, but it's a place that is totally awesome. When you're there, everything is possible and everything is worthwhile. That's basically the calling of every human being. If we're not there, life could be so torturous, so upsetting. Why? Till finally we'll do that leap and we realize it was always awesome. We simply were not ready to make that leap. Thank you so much, and good luck for all of us, especially in these days that we need that more than ever.